master of all masters, Father of mercy and forgiveness, we thank you, our God and the God of our fathers, by bowing down and kneeling, that you brought us closer to your Torah and your holy work, and you enable us to take part in the secrets of your holy Torah. How worthy are we that you grant us with such a big favor. That is the reason we plead before you, that you will forgive and acquit all of our sins, and that they should not bring separation between you and us. May it be your will before you, our God and the God of our fathers, that you will awaken and prepare our hearts to love and revere you, and may you listen to our utterances and open our closed heart to the hidden study of your Torah. And may our study be pleasant before your place of honor, as an aroma of sweet incense. And may you emanate to us light from the source of our soul to all of our being, and may the sparks of your holy servants, through which you revealed your wisdom to the world, shine. May their merit and the merit of their fathers and the merit of their Torah and holiness support us, so we shall not stumble through our study, and by their merit enlighten our eyes in our learning, as stated by King David, the sweet singer of Israel. Open my eyes so that I will see wonders from your Torah, because from his mouth God gives wisdom and understanding. May the utterance of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart find favor before you, God, my strength and my Redeemer.
Amen.
Amen. All right. Before we get going, I wanted to talk just a little bit about our Facebook Torah from Texas Concealed page. And over the past week, I went in and I cleaned a bunch of stuff off of there, and I don't want anybody to get upset or offended if any of your posts are removed or taken off of there. Please post on there and put whatever pertinent information that you want to put on there. And I'll leave it on there for a week or so where everybody can see it and everybody can comment and read back and forth. And then I'll take it off, because we have new people coming on there every week. And since the class is progressive, in other words, you have to see this class to see that class to kind of know what the flow is and what the stream is going on. And so what I try to do is move a bunch of stuff out and consolidate the classes so that they can watch it and watch it and watch it, and they don't have to scroll down 10 pages to get to their next class. All right? And so really, and feel free to comment, but that Facebook page is a teaching page, and Torah from Texas Revealed page is the comment and discussion and stuff like that. But like I say, you're welcome to put whatever you want to in there. I like to see your comments and everything. I keep up with it on a daily basis and look at it. And so, but just, I don't want anybody to get upset or offended if you put something on there that was cool and then a week later it was gone. So it has nothing to do with your post or whatever you put. It's just I'm trying to consolidate the classes for the new people, so when they come in they can follow along and catch up. That's all. All right. So, Russell, was there anything else we was going to discuss on the Facebook thing?
I think that covered it pretty
That covered it? Okay. This week, we're going to talk about the feast days, because Passover is coming up. All right. We're also going to talk about Messiah, because it's a big topic, what it is. All right. And then we're going to get into Adam once again. The reason I wanted to talk about the feast days is because this year is a really special year, because Good Friday and Purim were the same day. So there's something cosmically, astrologically lining up. Also, Hanukkah and Christmas are on the same day this year. So whenever you see the front side and the back side, it's like you got this and it locks. And so there's certain things going on, and then it takes off and goes the other direction. I don't know. I haven't looked. I'm not even worried about when's the last time it happened or whatever, but all I know is this year it's happened. And so I started thinking a lot about what's going on at that time in the world, throughout history, front side, back side, what's going on in the garden through our studies that we've gone through. And so what I've done today is I've made us a little map, so to speak, that we can look at and see what things are lining up spherotically on the Sefirot, feasts that are masculine, feasts that are feminine. Okay? And we know that out of the 613 laws, the negative ones are 365. Right? 365 days in a year. We also know that the 52 name of God, the 52 name, Ben, its gematria is 52, like I said. That's why that is the lower hay. That is why we have 52 weeks in a year. So, that being the case, the Ramdu has an entire section of books on Torah of things that happen on certain dates, be it battles, be it whatever. You know, nothing happens on this earth that doesn't happen on a specific time, on a specific coordinate in space-time. Okay, because it's all iterations of a higher consciousness. And we're gonna try to get ourselves into a higher state of consciousness today, because what I'm gonna try to help everybody understand is we have to look at everything from Adam Kadmon's view. All right. So Adam, most people don't know, but this board right here is Adam Kadmon, and this part of the board right here is Adam Harishon, Adam of the Garden. Okay. So that's what this is, and everything up here is the progression of the emanation of the Ein Sof, the Ein Sof's first emanation of the Tzimtzum, all the way through the fall. And that's what this board represents. So, the thing that I guess we'll go through first is my little bitty, and you guys will have to watch this on the deal later. My little bitty diagram. What I did here is I drew a circle, and this circle represents a calendar year. And so I tried to put what we consider to be January 1st up here, and it's opposing down here. So the pink represents feminine, okay? And the blue represents the masculine. So all of these feasts that are going on in the fall are female. All the ones that are going on in the spring to summertime are male. The first one I want to talk about is right down here. And we know it as the 9th of Av. Okay? So, to find out our iteration, when the lights emanate out of Ak and make the world of Akudim, these are the 3 sheep at Laban's place that Jacob was guarding, tending. If we look here, we have an S and a B. The S is the Sog, hay, and the Ben is the lower hay. What do we know about upper hay, lower hay? Leah, Rachel, right? The lights that issue out of Akudim make the next lower ring, let's call it lower, right, which is Nekudim. All right? At the Da'at of Nekudim, when the light emanates, that is called the shattering of the vessels. That's the destruction of the kings of Edom. All right, Genesis 36. Genesis 36 is before Genesis 1. All right? So, with that in mind, that is the 9th of Av. And if you look throughout history, you will find things that are very bad that occur on the 9th of Av. Some of those things are destruction of the first temple, first hay, destruction of the second temple, second hay. And Moses breaks the 10 Commandments. Shattering, destruction, shattering. Okay? So, now that we have that coordinate in time, that coordinate in time is sort of like we're going to call it her da'at, right? But on a lower level, her yesod. On the front side, it's when it's being what's the best way to put that? Let's just call it repair. Okay? So on the flip side, on the top we have the male yesod, the male nahi. This is when Zah is waking up for Purim. You see. See what's happening. Just the opposite. But we know Rosh Hashanah, Adam and the light of Ma, Adam is made, Adam is born, so to speak. Something is born. And these are all Guvurot because it's creation. So Guvurot is female, Hesed over here. Alright? Yom Kippur, Sukkoth. And we're headed to Hanukkah. Right? Now, Hanukkah is the Sphirot of Hod. Her feet descend to death. Right? We know from our studies that during this separation, the Nakash and Hava have an issue. Right? Which causes the collapse of the worlds. And Adam is a part of it. Causes the collapse of the world. Her feet descend to death. This is her Hod. Alright? So what is happening at Christmas? What is the reason for the season? We know that the tree is the Etzadat Tovarah, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. But what do they say? Oh, you got to put this in there. 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 What is the reason for the season? What do they have to put in there?
Jesus.
What part of Jesus?
His birth.
His birth. Why? Because there was union. There was union right back here. And the Nakash was part of that. Right? What do we know from our teachings prior that feed off of birth blood, menstruation, etc., etc.? What do we know feeds off that? The backside, external forces, demonic forces. That's its birth. That's its birth. That's why it has to be on that day. Historically, Jesus possibly wasn't even born on that day, but who cares? The fact of the matter is, the whole world has to have it on that day. What does Adam see? He sees that the days are getting shorter. Darkness, 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 evil, evil, evil's being birthed. And so, he comes up with, he's a master Kabbalist, right? He goes, okay, there's an antidote for this. It's called Adam's Yom Tov. We've talked about it. I've done a huge teaching on it back during that time, and we'll post it when we get there. All right? So, he's got to fix that, right? He has to fix his woman. Because Cain and Abel are well on their way. And that is the birth of every backside Messiah, including Pharaoh, born on that day. Many Messiahs throughout history have been born on that day. Quote unquote Messiah. Backside. Right? So, it's all about the blood. Well, what happened? Evil is being birthed. Haman is getting power, going to Purim. Right? Pharaoh is getting power, going to Purim and Passover. You see how the evil is always growing at that time and becoming strengthened. All right? What does Adam do? He does a Yom Tov. Yom is another word for Hesed. Tov is Malchut. He has to bring a Hesed to her. Hesed, water. He has to clean it up. So what does he do? Before creation was the Holy One made many things, 10 things. Staff of Moshe, Balaam's donkey. One of them was a sacrifice for Adam. And here's where he's going to use it. The sages say something very strange about this sacrifice. They say that its horn was completed before its hooves. What are they revealing and what are they concealing? And Adam takes this sacrifice, gives the blood to the other side, that gets him away, burns the sacrifice to ash, prays, he's the Kohen Gadol, prays, and all of a sudden, the next day, the sun starts getting brighter. Right? The sun, S-U-N, Zah, Zeranpin, starts getting brighter. He did tikkun for the whole thing. Because he is going to have to get back with her. So he's got to clean up the female. Because without the female, none of it exists. What's the secret of the sacrifice? Had no hooves. It had no hode. Its feet had not descended to death. It's the perfect sacrifice. You'd think, oh, well, without, it must be blemished if it doesn't have feet. No, the purpose was he didn't want it to, his hooves weren't complete. It was an elevation. It was an elevation sacrifice. He's bringing it back up. So, now, he's getting rid of, getting the other gods off of his day. Right? This is the whole lighting of the menorah, lighting of the candle, up to Yom Tov. All right? And so, and then he has a huge celebration on January 1st. He figures it out. So that's where that comes from. So now she's repaired, likened to Queen Esther. And he's now taking back the Netzach Hod Yesod that the other side got. So he's waking up. Zah's waking up at Purim. The time is short. So what is Passover? Remember we talked last week, they're in an infancy state. They're childlike. And they're in Atzilut for 24 hours. Davidic. Atzilut is Davidic for 24 hours. Well, now she's pregnant. And all of a sudden, boom, because there the child grows immediately. Remember from last week? It's ready to come out. So over here at Christmas, evil is birthed. What's birthed at Passover? The holy nation, the good. You see. So what has to be killed at that time?
They're doing it.
The other god. It was birthed here, it's killed here. Right? So that's how the front side and back side are mirroring itself. Pharaoh was killed. Jesus is killed. Boom, 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 boom. All lines up. So, each one of these is a sphero. Then, what do? Count the Omer. People that don't believe in Kabbalah don't count the Omer. Because what do you have to do? You have to start with Hesed. Hesed of Hesed. Hesed of Teferet, Hesed of Gevurot. You have to count every one of them. The 7 Sfirotes, you count the 7 lower Sfirotes. Within those Sfirotes, that's 49. That is Memtet, Metatron. It's ascending because they're going to get the commandments. 50, Shavuot. That's Teferet. That's Bina. He's taken the lower hay, cleaned her up, And they've birthed the whole thing, creation, and now it's back in Bina, the Gan. In Atzilut. Where were they at on the mountain? They were in Atzilut. That was their Atzilut experience. What happens? The golden calf. Alright? And it starts all over again every single year. And if you notice that the pilgrimage to Mecca is always around the 9th of Av. And what do? They bow to Mecca and turn their butts to Jerusalem. Okay? So if you look at what's going on, everybody says you shouldn't learn Kabbalah. Oh, you're going to go crazy. Oh, you're going to do this. Oh, you're going to do that. Because you can't contain the light. It's too much light. It's too much this. Here's a secret. Learning Kabbalah and learning the maps and the models and the metaphors here are realities here. Okay? Or vice versa. Depends on where you're looking at. The secret is you learn how to apply what you know. When you take that knowledge and it becomes an application, that's the secret of Torah. You see, doing something with that knowledge. All right? Redeeming Easter for us. I'm talking from our point of view. Redeeming Christmas through Hanukkah. Redeeming those things. Pulling that energy away from the backside. Understanding the red heifer. All right? So, Hanukkah, on the seventh night, what do? They set the candelabra, outside the door. Now, I was talking with Simcha ben Abraham, and the Rebbe writes a deal on it, saying that this is the head of Esau that's smashing the idols. Well, what's going on outside the door in Hanukkah? Adam's cleaning it up. He's got to have the red heifer. He's got to have the head of Esau. Outside the door. Where'd they put the blood? On the outside the door. At Pesach. Just another mirror image. But now we have the mezuzah on the door. Why? Because it says sin is crouching at your door. Well, we know sin is crouching at your door is Samael. The Satan. What cancels that out? Ashes of the red heifer. The candelabra is sitting opposite the menorah. So we can take everything we know about the holidays, and because we come from that side, we can examine and look at everything that's going on that other side, figure out everything about the red heifer, figure out everything about what's going on. Now we can apply it in our home and do the tikkun for it. Something that the Jews can't do. They can't redeem Christmas. They can't pull the sparks out of that stuff. They can't pull the sparks out of Easter. They can't touch it. It's too contaminated. So that is the application of the Kabbalistic thinking of what we're able to do. So with that, we're going to talk a little bit about Messiah. So, if I ask you a question and I said, who is the Messiah at Purim, what would you say?
Queen Esther.
Queen Esther. Well, I thought the Messiah is supposed to be a guy, but Queen Esther is the Messiah there. What saved Noah?
The ark.
The ark. That's Malchut. That's female. What went before the children of Israel in the desert? The ark. Female. The Shekhinah. Who saved Abraham when he went to Egypt?
Sarah.
Sarah. So, who's Messiah? See, the problem. Who saved the Davidic spark out of Lot? His daughters. What about Tamar? What about Ruth? What about Deborah? What about Hannah? What about Naomi?
Rahab,
Rahab saved all of Israel.
Yael,
Yael. Who else?
Leah and Rachel.
Of course, the Leah and Rachel. Rebecca saved the whole day in the story. If you know the story correctly, you know. Leah's crying mitigation for Esau saved his head. Thank God. Right? So the secret is we have to quit looking at Messiah as male. Because when the vessel shattered, the light of Ma came out of the forehead of Adam Kadmon. When it did, that formed the world, the rectified light formed the world we call Beredim. Okay? Now, 45 at that point is Messiah. Now, 45 is 26, the Havayah, plus 19, Hava. So, without the female, there is no Messiahship. It's a Messiahship. That's messianic thinking, but we're going to get even deeper into it. Okay? Now, on the back side, at the shattering of the vessels, if you look on this board, there's only women's names listed here. Because it's the female, Sag and Ben, the two Hays of Yud Hey Vav Hey. It's the two Hays that are pertinent. The Rapak, those sparks that fell out, are Potiphar's wife in Torah. The Shach, the 320 sparks that fell out, that's the Cushite woman. That's Moshe's Cushite woman, right? And the Pa'ar, the heavy denim that fell out of Guberot, that's Timnah. She makes Amalek. So the female either kills it or saves it. You see. So the problem we have in Torah today, that I see, is that because we're in a quote unquote male dominating society, we completely forget about the female. Why? She's in exile. She's outside the camp. She's bloody and beaten, right? She's in menstruation. She just had birth. She's over here. Sam has done his work. The problem is the Davidic Messiah. We have Messiah ben Joseph and Messiah ben David. The Davidic Messiah doesn't exist in Berea, Yetzirah, Asiya, per se. Why? Because its fractal sparks have fell and shattered not only in the world of Nekudim, as I explained, but at the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That's its iteration. It's like you took a huge glass vase and threw it on the concrete, and the pieces are everywhere. If you say, this is bubble wrap, if you say, these are all the pieces that fell out. If you say, oh, that's Messiah right there, you've lost it. You've lost all consciousness about it. Because the fact of the matter is, that's Messiah. It's that simple. And what you're going to understand is, when we go through this, if you're not looking at it from Adam Kadmon's point of view, you can't look at it. Because anything in Berea, Yetzirah, and Asiya is only a simulation relative to Adam. And that's only a simulation relative to Ak. But we have to work our way through this to see what is going on here. Now we know we have Jacob, Esau, and Ishmael. Those are the three columns Those are the three religions and global political geodynamics, right? Each one of them has its male Messiah. The Christians have who? Jesus. The Muslims have who? Muhammad. And the Jews have who? The Rebbe. The problem is, there's no woman in that picture. In any of it. Where's the hay? Where's the hay? Without the hay in the picture, there is no Messiahship. She's the crown of the Messiah. You can't crown a Messiah without a crown. It doesn't work. Now, you say, oh, but David, King David was here. King David was here in Asia, in this world. He's not from here. He got his 70 years of life from Atzilut. That's a big difference. Nobody else got their 70 years of life from Atzilut. He was supposed to be dead. Adam saw it. So he had to put a fractal spark in it from him. All right? And here's how it works. Here's how it works. I'm going to erase this now. Everybody got their mind wrapped around this? You going to take a picture of it? Here. I'll take a picture of that. All right. While they're taking a picture of that, I'm going to explain to you. We're going to call it 5D, 4D, 3D, 2D, and 1D. One dimension. Dimensionality. Okay? And we're going to draw a line through 4D to 3D. And here's how it's going to look. As soon as I get that back. Father, a person. Got it?
Thank you.
Okay. Let me erase this. Now that we have our mind wrapped around Adam Kadmon a little bit, because I've discussed it, we're going to go even further. If we look on the board up here, we have our levels of Asiya, Yetzirah, Beriah, Atzilut, and Adam Kadmon. These are also the levels of the soul, starting with the Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, and Yechida. The Yechida part is very important. Okay? So, 5 is going to be Ak. 4 is going to be Adam HaRishon. From our class last week, this A is Atzilut. This whole thing is Atzilut. But now we have the fall. And remember, the fall, Dam is blood. Remember? As an acronym. But this is Beriah, Yetzirah, and Asiya. We're going to call this 3D, 2D, and 1D. When's the last time somebody has looked and seen the angels in Yetzirah? You can't. When's the last time somebody's looked and seen the angels of Beriah? They're up there. The Chayot, the Seraphim, on a daily basis. You know, when you live on that level like Abraham did, he talked to him all the time. It was no big deal. Even Lot saw him all the time. No big deal. But we have fallen so far, you can't see this way. This looks down. Because this has Klippa on it. And you can't see through. So, the prophets prophesied on different levels and explained the different levels. Daniel from Asiah, Ezekiel from Yetzirah, Isaiah from Berea, and Moshe from Atzilut. The only way to see into 3D or into 2D or into 1D is if you're up looking down. Right? God looking down. You can see the whole thing. This whole structure that has fallen out is called Messiah ben Joseph. This up here, Messiah ben David. Curved light, straight light. Correct. So to say, other than David, who got his 70 years from this spot, there's no other Messiah but David. If there is, it's only a fractured, fractional spark. It's not the. If it was, it would be alive forever. Because David understood the formula. He had 18 wives. 18. Chaya. That was the elevation energy. That was the spine. He was using the female. Solomon, 1,000. He was taking it up to Keter, which is 1,000. Without the women, it doesn't work. So there's not Mashiach without it. It can't happen. So from Och's point of view, Adam is a simulation. From Adam's point of view, Bia is just a simulation. So what do the sages say? Messiah ben Joseph must die. Because once this goes away, and 4D is now the circle that contains 3D, 2D, and 1D. That's Messiah ben David. Right? So, it's like this. You have to look at it from Och's point of view. I'm going to pretend to be Och. I'm standing in a huge lake. And I have a rock in my hand. And I drop that rock and it makes a ring. Right? It's only one ring. And I can look at it, and I'm looking at it from the inside. As it gets further and further out, it starts making ripples. This is called nakash, the sine waves. Hasidim, Guvarot. Hasidim, Guvarot. Tzimtzum. Right? If you're standing on the bank looking back at me, you see 100 ripples. I see one. The only one, the original one, because the others are only a fractal iteration of the one that I made. They're not the real one. They're not the real wave. They are fake waves. They are the only thing that gives them any dimensionality is they're connected to the first wave. Without the first wave, they don't even exist. So the fact of the matter is, unless you are looking at it from his point of view, it's only one. Echad. Right? From this side, it's a billion zillion ripples. So what does he say? He says that at the end times, when Mashiach is here, where is here? Earth is, it's all in here, in his here. He and his name are one. His name is hey, she, female, right? That is who, that only when the straight light meets the curved light, straight light, curved light, only when that meets is it now Messiah ben David. Forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Why? Because that is Atzilutic consciousness. That is male and female consciousness. It's not the tree of duality. It's the tree of life. It's a singularity. So if you don't have the female aspect to that, it's only a fractal spark. It's not the it. You know? Because when Messiah comes, it's introduced by Elijah. What is Elijah? Elijah is Sandalphon. What is Sandalphon? The bottom feminine lip of the Metatronic circuit. Of course it's going to be announced the female. And what stands on the Mount of Olives when that hits? It's Bina. Remember, Bina splits. It's her. Because everything only runs from Sag and Ben. Even the light of Ma contains female. Unless you understand what we call Hug, the dance of Hasidim and Guvarot, which is the Tzimtzum, and you block yourself off from that whole thing, it's only, and you're living and you're viewing it from a one-dimensional, two-dimensional, three-dimensional state, all you're going to see is the bifurcation of the Etzadat Torah, and it's going to be male over here and female over here, and Messiah, king, is going to be male. Kingdom is Nukva. King, it's female. Stimulation from below, it's her. It's her. So, how does it work? It starts in your own house with your own nukva. Then the ger can become female to the Jew. We can become Messiah ben Joseph, which is what Esau was supposed to do. Only when that relationship happens can the Jews become Messiah ben David. And Judah didn't recognize his brother Joseph. As long as that happens, they are still Messiah ben Joseph, and it's still going to bam, 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 bam. They're going to get hammered. When this relationship happens, now there's a transition. Male and female, male and female, female and male. You see, the way it's got to start from the Peshat and go through the Sod, all the way up. Then he has his vessel. So, what is Messiahship? It's when the light of Ak that has the Yechida actually penetrates the Nukva. Right? That's called Yesod Abba. What's the secret of Purim? She was containing Yesod Abba. You see, that's it. Because female has a female masculine Yesod. Male has a masculine Yesod as well. But it has two functions. The female function is only one function. Pure light. Pure Davidic, messianic light. And it's the Shekinah that's going to blow away the external forces. Is Metatron Messiah? Yes. Is David Messiah? Yes. Is Eve Messiah? Yes. Is Adam Messiah? Yes. Until you expand your global consciousness and wrap yourself around that, you're stuck in the Klippa. You can't get out of it. You can't get out of it. It's always the dance of Hasidim and Guvarot, because that is the emanation of the Ein Sof and the Or. That's all it does. Pulsation. Pulsation. What's Elijah announced? Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu. With the Yechida. See, Moses had to put away his wife. Why? Because that's the lower hay. He's got the upper hay, the Shekhinah. But what was he doing? What is the secret of the tzaddik? The tzaddik is the Mel Yesod, right? The one who protects the Mel Yesod. Why? Because when you have Hasidim over here and you have Guvarot over here, and he and his name are one, it's not Yud Hey Vav Hey anymore. It's Yud Hey Yud Hey. When she is on the same intellectual level as him, there's no difference between her and him. When you see the Shekhinah, it's him, right? So Moshe would go into the tent, and they were in union. How? He was the synapsis that allowed it to do it. You see, he's not Mashiach. It is Mashiach. He is the Yesod. He's Yesod Abba. It's very clear in the Zohar what he is, right? He's in Atzilut. He's got a countenance. He's glowing. He's got the light of the whole thing. He has to cover his head. You can't see that kind of light. That's Mashiach. He went from Messiah ben Joseph to Messiah ben David. But only when the whole female was rectified, which is the secret of the burning bush, which is Bina, which is taking the shoes off, which is the whole thing. So, what I wanted to really illustrate tonight is we saw the whole feast thing. And if you noticed, I drew half of it in pink and half of it in blue. Because that is Messiah. Male and female. So, if you're going to talk Messiahship, we've got to include her. Without her, it don't work. All right? Let me see if I missed anything on my notes, because I just kind of wrote some things down. Oh, yes! So, the consciousness now is to become Adamic. Not becoming Adam, but become Adamic. Because if you say become Adam, you think male. Mind goes to male. But if you say becoming Adamic, it's including something. It's including her in the mission. She lights the candles on Shabbat. What's Shabbat about? Welcoming in the queen, not the king. You see, it's her, man. It's all about her. Cleaning. We learned last week, we've got to clean her up. Mm-hmm. You see, so she can come back in and receive the light of the Yechidah. And the vessels don't shatter, or keep the external forces away so it doesn't cause her pain and bleeding. Right? So what is the secret of David's writings? The Psalms. If you can't study Kabbalah, which is her, relative to Zah is the Torah. The oral is female. It's her. That's why nobody wants you to study her. Because when you study her, the light comes on. And you get it. And so David is writing about her from where? From 4D. From that point of view. Not from this point of view, looking 1, 2, 3. No, he's writing it 4D, looking 4D. That's the secret of the Psalms. And this brings us to where we're headed. We're going to finish Adam because we've got to get to Song of Songs. Song of Songs does not have a Peshat. A Peshat means it happened in Bia, Berea, Yetzirah, Asiya. You see what I'm saying? That means a Peshat. Song of Songs doesn't have a Peshat. Why? Because it's about 4D to 5D. It's about the relationship between her and Ak. Totally messianic. Totally cosmic. It's totally Shabbat. That day you hit the 7th and you're not here. You know, you don't do Shabbat, Shabbat does you. Right. That's what we say. That's the secret of Song of Songs. Because, so when we get to that point, and when we get to Song of Songs, we have to completely leave Bia there. And we have to use our messianic mindset, because that is the writings of messianics, of becoming Adamic. Wisest man in the world. 1,000 wives. What's he doing? Keter. He's absolute, man. He sees everything. He knows everything. He knows every formula. Shem meets Solomon and says, you know, Shem, all the way Noah's son, the Torah of Shem, meets him and says, now that you wrote this, the Torah is complete and I can die. Because it's that. It's that. We cannot concretize Messiah, Messiahship, Mashiach, Adam, Adamic consciousness anymore. That is exile, and that is not redemption. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense.
How long have we gone, Russell?
We'll just make it this way. 1 hour.
1 hour? Do we want to just leave this as the class and just do Adam next week?
Let's do it.
And just put that out? Is that good enough for today? All right.
All right.
Anything from the other side of the world over there?
It's pretty amazing stuff. I just happened to just run the gematria of Berea, Yetzirah, and Asiya just for fun. And the Mishpar Gadol is 917, which interestingly enough is 7 times 131, which is Samael. And that is in the donkey driver, the secret of the circle within the square. And we know what Rabbi Back says about that. So you could elucidate that a little bit or just contemplate it. But also, 917 is when, like Vachashirot, so when Jeremiah goes lamenting in 2 Chronicles 35, it uses this word that has that speaks of the 9th of Av.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another gematria that's 152, and that's 19 times 3, and that's obviously Chava. And then the Atbash of Berea, Yetzirah, Asiya is 750. So that's beautiful in and of itself, because that's obviously, another 250 gives us Atzilus. So you've got 250, 250, 250. There's your Asiya, Yetzirah, Berea.
So the math lines up.
The math lines up.
Real quick, I'll just give, if we went an hour, I may can cover this. Because we got to get through it. Let's go for it. What do y'all say? Go for it? Let's go for
I
it.
say go for it.
Okay, we're going for it. We're going for it. All right. We are in Genesis 3:17. And to Adam he said, because you listened to the voice of your wife and ate of the tree about which I commanded you, saying, you should not eat of it. Accursed is the ground because of you. Through suffering you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles shall it sprout for you, and you shall eat the herb of the field. By the sweat of your brow you shall eat bread, until you return to the ground, from which you were taken. That's where we're going to stop. Okay, the Ramdu says, and the curses are coming from the Nakash. Are they coming from the Nakash, or are they coming from God? The Ramdu says, because if they had not continued, the Zuhama, the poison of Nakash, would have been completely removed by the Holy One himself. But now the transgression solidified it. Now it will be, quote, forever It's called a decree, not a curse. I turned on the TV this morning, and every now and then I'll turn on and see what the backside's teaching, you know. And this guy's name was Joseph Prince or something like that. And he was talking about all you see in the Old Testament is curse, 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 curse. And all you see in the New Testament is grace, grace, grace. All right? Curse is a decree. Because this happened, that happened. Once it's a lower level, it is curse relative to that level. What the decree is, what the curse is defining where you are. That's what it's called. But if you say the primordial woman got what she deserved, then what about all the other women throughout creation? You know? Because it affects them. They didn't do it. Because the collapse is only rectified in the end. But Hashem deals with women, holy women, in a different way. He minimizes their pain. They were not included. In other words, the righteous women of the world are not included in the severe suffering that unrighteous women are included in. You know? Now, it's all relative. If you say, well, okay, I had a baby, hurt like hell, and all that, well, it could have been worse. It could have been worse. He could have come out sideways. Right. Or whatever. Could have been worse. But because God is merciful, then the righteous women, He reduces their pain in life. Why in sorrow you will give birth, and why your husband you will crave. Why does he talk like that? This kind of goes back from last week. Because during birth she says in her heart, no man will ever touch me again. But her Guverot starts coagulating, and it needs mitigation of the male. And sure enough, it returns. But the Torah is very careful here. It says, to your husband you will desire, or you will crave, not to a man. Because the woman cuts a contract to this one man that made her the vessel. Because he has placed Ruach in her. She is going after his essence and not the essence of another man. But and this is the secret of a different spirit that enter hers that is not her husband's. This is the reason for the sota. The second reason is it's a command only to your husband. Even though the craving gets so great in the woman, she is not allowed to verbalize her request for union. Because he rules over her. During this primordial decree. But not when Messiah comes. See what just happened? In other words, because it's in a lower level, because she fell to a lower level, she hints at sexuality. She doesn't verbalize it in a vulgar sense, like men do, you know. She doesn't have permission to request it directly. And we all know what we're talking about. But it says, not when Messiah comes. Because she's on the same level he is. She requested directly. Just what we got through talking about. Just what we got through talking about. The man expresses with his mouth, but the woman expresses with her heart. The lion is greater than the ox. Water puts out the fire. And Abraham bound Isaac. Who? You have to understand the dance of Hasidim Road. The Nakash and the woman were both seducers. But when it comes to the man had a great defense. Right? Remember what he said? He goes, hey, no, wait a minute. You gave me this girl. And I wouldn't expect you to give me anything that would be bad for me. Right? He had a great defense. So, therefore, because she was a seducer back to the Nakash, and we know why she was, then she seduces her husband with her heart, not with her mouth. And so Adam says, why would I not trust her? Therefore, now God is giving him an answer. Remember, he never answered him back when we went through this back before. He just listened to him. Then he went to Eve, listened to her. Then he went to the Nakash, listened to him. Then he answered the Nakash. Then he answered her. And now he's answering Adam. Because you listened to her voice. This is why she now expresses with her heart. She doesn't express right here at the upper realm. The judge is now going to interject and reject Adam's complete defense. Therefore, he gives him a reason. Because you listened to her, and you didn't listen to me. I told you not to, saying. In other words, when it says, when it uses the word saying, it's a command form. So if you're God and you tell me something saying, don't do this, that word saying means I'm supposed to tell her. God commanded him saying. It means you say to that one. You see. So he said, I told you not to eat, and you should have told her not to eat. And if you'd listened to me, not her, you wouldn't be in this predicament. So God rejects his whole thing about, hey, you made her. You wouldn't have given me anything bad. He goes, no, you listen to the king. Listen to the Creator. She was given as your helper and for good. But there is no greater good than the decree of the Holy One. And I love it. He goes, Rav Mali says, that Hashem tells him, there were other trees in the garden you could have eaten, except not that tree. Now, think about that. She's the only tree in the garden. But he says there's other trees in the garden. What is he talking about? Up higher level consciousness, not Yesod. It's not ready. It's not ready. So you have no defense. In other words, Adam, think for yourself. The word saying means he should have told it to her. So Adam, it's your fault. I warned you, you should have warned her, then she would have in turn warned you. I wrote a joke. I don't normally do this. But here's the problem. And the joke goes like this. Adam and Eve and the Nakash walk into a bar. And that's the joke. Adam, Eve, and Nakash walk into a bar. What's the problem? They walked into the bar. That's a 4D joke. Because what happens in that bar, you see, the problem is they walked into the bar. So, It's not a joke, it's a point. And because you did this, and you have no defense, it has even affected the ground that you are standing on, not just you. What's the ground he's standing on? Her. The ground is cursed because of you. Upper earth, lower earth. Upper hay, lower hay. Leah, Rachel. How great is the destruction, and all the goodness is removed from the earth. And you had it all without any work. You didn't have to go get any fruit. You didn't have to go get any food. You didn't have to go to H-E-B and cook. You didn't have to paint the house. You didn't have to let the dogs out. You didn't have to do nothing. You didn't have to go to work and make money, dig ditches. You didn't have to do nothing. But now, Berea Yetzirah Asiya, which is called sweat and work, which is suffering, you will have to do. The Ramdu says farming is the greatest of all, because there is no more difficult work than that. But it has the greatest tikkun, because you're working the lowest level, you see. But he says something here. He says, and you shall eat of it. Accursed is the ground because of you. Through the suffering you shall eat all the days of your life. He doesn't say forever. There's a difference. All the sphero of your life. All the days. He's told the same thing to the Nakash. All the days of your life. Because what? When that straight light hits that curved light, it's over. And it all goes back. Alright? So all the days of your life means it's limited. There is a limit. It's not eternity. What feast do we do eternity? Purim. Esther. Yesod Abba. Her. Mashiach. There you go. Zah. Da 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 da. It's eternity. He says, thorns and thistles shall sprout for you. What are thorns and thistles? Thorns and thistles are the other side. Sometimes they wear crowns of thorns with blood on it. Thorns and thistles are the other side. These are called coats. They are inverted crowns. Why? Because Malchut's fallen. He says, you brought this upon yourself, and you gave power to the other side to take over. So it's your fault. He says, not only that, this now causes your intercourse to be like an animal act. You lost the ability to da'at it, to know it on a cerebral level. That is the work. What is the work? She is the field. She is the ground. What is the work? Taking the unity back to a state of 4D consciousness. To where you have Hug, to where now she is still on your name and her name are one. That's the whole work. That's Mashiach. You see. She is the field. This is the first temple fire that came from above. In other words, as soon as it's there, the first, what do? They put the sacrifice on there and the fire comes from above. Because the unity, the zivug, the sex is only the medium for the mitigation. This is the lowest level, and it's the most difficult. And this is what they did, and this is what it's caused. Therefore, that's why what you caused, the klipa of this whole union, not only that, every animal. Because you have fallen to an animal state, so your union will be animalistic. And so you will be as an animal. So the secret is to decide whether it is spiritual or physical. Is to take physicality and make it spiritual. Take the work and elevate it. No matter what it is, whether it's farming, whether it's union, no matter what it is. Take the physical and make it a spiritual concept. Adam cried at these decrees. He's now going to the animal levels, and the animals are even going lower. And mineral and everything, plant, everything. From the words of the sages, I and my donkey eat at the same trough. And this aroused compassion in the Holy One through the tears of Adam. So he says, the next verse, through the sweat of your brow you shall eat bread. Because the animals don't do that. In other words, he had been diminished to the animal level. Walk like an animal, talk like an animal, eat like an animal, have sex like an animal. And it hurt him so bad, and he was so distraught, that the Holy One elevated him above, kept him above the animal, and said, no, you won't eat grass from the field like them, you will eat bread. But what are you going to have to do? You're going to have to plant it, you're going to have to grow it, you're going to have to pick it, you're going to have to cut it, you're going to have to grind it up, you're going to have to make it, you're going to have to bake it, and then you can eat it. The animals, they just get to run out there and eat it. So there's so much work to be done. The reason it is called by the brow is the same is the word in Hebrew called off, which means anger, because a man shows his anger in his forehead. So what is he constantly angry about? What is he constantly battling about? The other side. What is this work? What is he fighting day to day? To be able to eat, which is knowing, which is union, which is zivug, which is elevation, which is, sacrifice, the whole thing. He's constantly battling the forces of the other side. That's what has now made Adam ticked off. Now I got to put up with this first. And they're still putting up with it, right? Because the word milchama, which comes from the same word as lechem, bread, means war. It's the same word. The root for bread and the word that's used for here is the same word for war, above and below. Constantly at war. And then he says, until you're going to battle this other side, both spiritually at war and physically at war, until you return to the ground, comma, from which you were taken. What does it mean? When you die, the skin of the serpent is removed and you rest until you return, until your body is resurrected. That's what it means, until you return to the ground. But then he adds a second little ditty here, from which you were taken. What does that mean? Or until he fixes that which his soul comes from, and he rests in this world while he is alive. So a man's work is two things. Either you're constantly fighting battles, constantly fighting wars, or you elevate and you get spiritual about it, and you fix it from the root which you came, and you have peace and rest here from your root in which you came, not when you die and rest from all your work. And the Torah is amazing, and the sages are amazing, and we'll see you next week.